Hello, my name is Tatum. I am the director, writer, and actor in Torn Apart, and I'm here to break down the final showdown. Actually, but before I even press play, this final showdown was something that I originally had the whole thing envisioned as I was writing the script. So I knew that this movie was going to lead up to this pinnacle moment in the movie where both of these main characters, Leo and Jolene, kind of take on this strength amongst themselves. Towards the end of the movie, they make the decision that they are going to fight back. Both Leo, when he wakes up from his dream, and Jolene, when she wakes up from getting knocked out, they both make the conscious decision that we are going to act. We are going to fight back. That's the choice that they make. And for a fight scene like this, I always wanted to make sure that that choice was prevalent. So throughout the entire rest of the movie, even though they made that choice and it might have saved them, it might have caused other negative effects too. So I always wanted to keep that prevalent, and I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about once I get into it. So we start off with Leo almost like scouting out his prey. And with my composer, I told my composer, I showed him some native traditional music, and there's this music that sounds like a sneak up. It's where before natives go into battle, when they're sneaking up on their enemies, and the drums are like, it's just real low, real low. And although it doesn't sound exactly like it, my composer did a great job by just making those drums feel like it's about to build up, and it just works so well. And especially with Leo, I always wanted to showcase that Leo was human, so as he's reacting and he's trying to decide what he's gonna do, he shows that he's human. He looks nervous, but he commits to it. And the way that I wanted to sneak up, the way I'm kind of like sneaking up real low, is almost like how traditional dancers do their sneak up dance. And again, when Leo makes it and he's like right there with the enemy that he's supposed to kill, I wanted to show that he was nervous. When Leo is just sitting there and he sees his enemy right across from him. This was just improv for me because I didn't have this written in the script, but I knew I wanted it. I always wanted Leo to feel like a real person. I didn't want him to just feel like Rambo or anything, which is mentioned multiple times in the film. When I was acting in the scene and I was hiding up against this plank and I look over and see him, it makes me feel nervous. While I was acting, I was like, I feel like if I was in this situation, I'd need like a countdown to like hype myself up and able to go out there. I just feel like that was just like a natural reaction for Leo to do. Then he goes in and snatches Jay, and so the way we did this is I just came in, put my arm around his neck, and I just had the stick. It wasn't pointing out, it was just like inside my fist, and I was just going into his stomach. Pause.
Hey, what are you doing, man? Quit playing, man. Come on.
It's almost like we're dancing. We're like dancing in a circle. We're making our way around. So the gun goes off. That's something I had in the script the whole time. But when the gun goes off, I wanted it to kind of heighten it immediately. I didn't want Leo to just come in here and waltz through here and just freaking stealth killing everybody. When he's stabbing him, I feel like his muscles would like tense up. And as his muscles tense up, it would go off just. And the funny thing about this is a lot of these scenes weren't filmed on the same day. Like when we cut to the boss and Jolene in the office, that was filmed like a completely different week. All these scenes were filmed completely separately. That's really just how we had to go about it, especially with the overall fight scene. We didn't have months and weeks to prepare for it. I had a couple days in my head to go out there and look over it, and then once we get out there on set, it's kind of just off instinct. I'm just like, okay, let's get the lighting right here. Okay, let's walk through it, see what feels natural, and then we get comfortable enough to where we're ready for a take, and then we just go for it and try to perfect it as much as we can from there.
What do we do? Go check what the fuck's going on out there. Come on, let's go.
Actually, a fun fact right here. So you see Sty mention over his men. There were actually 2 other guys. So there was actually another character. I don't know if any of you guys noticed this in the movie, but a character disappeared and they didn't finish their part in the movie. It was the character of Ez, played by Isaac Rivera. And he was in a couple scenes prior. He was a real minor character, so we were kind of able to get away with it. But he was supposed to be in this final showdown. He was supposed to have a little skirmish with Leo. But he didn't show up to the shoot day. And we couldn't push it back at that point. And I was like, all right, we're just gonna have to write him off. He's just gonna have to disappear. And that's just something that happens when you're on a low budget movie and you can't really get people to commit. I've had too many people to count to talk about that have left the movie.
Damn! You stay in.
Also, this part right here, when the boss gets mad and he says, damn it. When he says, you stay here, he didn't say that in the clip. So originally, I had him walk out the office when he tells them, go check whatever's going on out there. And then as that happens, Jolene sneaks out behind him. But as I was editing the movie, I was like, this feels kind of, it just feels forced. It doesn't feel natural for her to just escape that easily. And so the boss, I changed it. I just edited it a different way to where Jolene never left the room. The boss goes back into the office, and then I just pulled some clips from other scenes and meshed his voice to say, you stay here, which sounds really natural. And then Jolene leaves as the boss leaves the building, which I think came off a lot more natural. Now, the reason the boss contemplates right here deciding is because he has a decision to make. And the boss throughout the whole film is very meticulous. You know, he likes to plan his moves real carefully. He makes every step right and he makes sure it's the right move. In this moment, in the heat of a moment when something's about to go down, you don't know if it's the cops, you don't know if it's Leo, you don't know what's going on out there. The boss had to make a decision. And that's the reason the boss fails. That's the downfall of the boss, is that he didn't stick to his meticulous plan and he just went off instinct, which is what got him killed. He let his ego get in his way, and he let just irrational thinking take over him, which led to his death. Now this scene coming up.
Where's Luna? You see what happens, you fucking bitch?
If you guys can't tell already, you guys should know what's happening and what Daniel just did to Luna. A very disgusting act to commit, but I needed that act to come off as disgusting. I needed the audience to hate these characters. How could they do these disgusting things to these girls? That's what really makes you root for the main characters, is you don't sugarcoat that stuff. And this scene was important because we're also following Luna's arc as well during the final showdown. Like I said, all these main characters, this is the pinnacle moment for them. And I really wanted to show Luna's kind of like breakdown where she has no life in her eyes, which is why I have just a long take just on her face the whole time. It's only on her face. And then as she reaches for the gun, examines it, and it leaves the audience to question. They're like, what is she gonna do? It's a very important moment for Luna's character throughout this whole showdown. I love this part of the soundtrack.
Holy shit. Fuck.
So I think one of my biggest strengths is creating character relations and having these different dialogues where each character has a different relation with each other. There's so many different henchmen that mesh well together, that don't mesh well together, and it all comes together and creates a real sense of like real people. These feel like real people.
Goddamn racist.
Dude, come on, quit your...
What is it?
Fucking Slender Man?
Here's the biggest horror element in this film. I would love to explain this to people as Sty just shot his own henchman. The skinwalker thing. The reason I decided to put the skinwalker thing in there is because I wanted to add an extra layer of depth to the story and just another layer of native culture, something that makes the movie feel a little more unique than it already is, and just taking it a little bit more farther than a basic action film, just a little element. The reason I decided to throw the skinwalker thing in there is because skinwalkers are like manipulators, almost like henchmen. These sex traffickers are manipulators. They manipulate these girls, they lure them, they get them to do what they want, they lure them out into their traps. And that's kind of what skinwalkers do. Skinwalkers are known to like imitate people's voices that you know, so it'll lure you out there so they could grab you. So the Skinwalker was kind of like an element that levels the playing field, because, you know, Leo has his back against the wall, all the girls have their back against the wall. The Skinwalker kind of levels the playing field, and the Skinwalker doesn't really have a side. It doesn't really choose a side, you know. And early in the film, Leo hears the Skinwalker, like it's watching him around the forest. The henchmen do, and then this big moment when you finally see the Skinwalker. And obviously they don't know what it is. It was just a really cool element to throw in, and I think it adds a little level of uniqueness. And the reason it works is because we constantly build up to it. There's hints of something more throughout the entirety of the film. Throughout the entire film, characters are talking about this Skinwalker. You keep seeing little signs of something more out there. So when you finally get to this point, it won't completely throw off the audience because it's been built up. It would be different if I threw in no signs of a Skinwalker and then out of nowhere there's just something that grabs him. That would throw off the entire tone of the film. But the reason it works is because in the story it's constantly being built up, so it doesn't just come out of nowhere. The Skinwalker sound comes in, Sty gets scared, Leo's nervous of another confrontation, but he knows what he has to do. That music was such a huge part. So as this film went on, when I was editing this scene, I didn't have the music for a while. I was editing the scene for about a month and I had no music to go off of, so I was just kind of building the pacing of it and how it plays out. But once I got the soundtrack, at first I didn't really like it because I was so used to hearing it in silent. And when you watch this final showdown without music, it has a sort of like unique flavor to it that just feels a little more raw. Like the only real sounds you're hearing are the gunshots, which make it feel really, I don't know, like grounded and raw. When my composer, when I gave him some notes and he kept working on the soundtrack, he built it into this it was just perfect, just this like immaculate, just pinnacle, like I said, pinnacle of the story. It just feels bigger. And it feels like a huge moment with the soundtrack, with these huge drops and stuff. And once I started working that in there, I adjust the scene to the music. So I make sure the cuts are like on the cool beats, like dum, cut, dum, and stuff like that. That's stuff I do.
You killed my man! I got Jolene! That's who you after, right? Yeah! I had her stripped down in front of me 10 minutes ago!
Leo!
So this is the first time Leo and the boss kind of talk to each other, and the boss letting his ego get in the way. He's really trying to like test out Leo and get him to bite. And with Leo not being a perfect human, and you know, if someone said that about my girl, I would be heated. I'd be like, nah, I'm gonna kill you. And that's why Leo gets shot in the same exact spot in his leg. So even though the boss letting his ego get in the way, it's working right now. It's slowly working for him. This shot right here where Leo's running back and then he turns around and gets a quick pop shot off. It was just a really cool shot to do. It was really cool. It was something that like I said, I wanted this to be an enjoyable action movie. And so I wanted to throw some cool elements in there, some cool just action scenes in there when Leo's just limping away from the body and then turns around real quick and then as he shoots, he falls to the ground because he's shot in the leg. You know, it's little moments like that just add kind of like my type of flavor in here, because my goal with this movie was always to make just an enjoyable action movie. You know, just sit down, watch the movie and have fun with the cool action scenes, but also, you know, take something at the end of the day, something real. This is where I pair the two together. Leo's got one bullet, the boss has none. Jolene has now made her way out the base. And this is the first time Jolene and Leo have seen each other the entire movie.
Leo!
And so when they see each other, you know, what I had envisioned was like they both have like the biggest smile. It's like the biggest sense of relief. They've both been just trying to survive, fighting for their life all day. And for them to see the person that they love, the person that they've wanted to see forever, I just thought that they would smile, you know, just smile at each other. I took homage from A Better Tomorrow which is a 1980s Hong Kong action flick, one of my favorites of all time. And there's a scene at the end, at the final battle, where two characters separate because one needs to go this way, the other needs to go that way. But they both decide that they want to stick together because they want to protect each other. They're boys, you know, they're friends. And so he comes back to help out his friend, and they both see each other. And one looks at him and he kind of like smiles at him, even though they're just surrounded by this chaos. That's kind of where I got inspiration from it, and I wanted to throw homage in there. There's a lot of scenes that I've thrown homage to throughout this whole film, like the Warriors, a lot of different stuff. The Last of Us Part 2.
You fuck over here. Drop it.
Now these three characters are all together in this scene, so this face-off is very intense. And Leo's got one bullet in the chamber.
Don't play with me. What's your boyfriend's name? Leo, come out!
Like I said, Leo has to hype himself up to go out there. I just always wanted him to feel human.
It's acting!
And then Jolene gets knocked out. The reason Leo missed his gunshot is because I didn't want it to just, you know, one in the chamber, he's just gonna nail his shot. You know, just a sense of reality always make it feel grounded. This part is so funny when the boss picks up the water bottle. This was actually improv because we got to this point and I knew after Leo shoots his gun, he doesn't really have any defense mechanisms besides his hands, and neither does the boss. But the boss is always looking for the upper hand. He's always looking for an advantage. And so that water bottle actually just happened to be right there. I think it was someone's water bottle on set, but it just happened to be right there. And I was like, why don't you pick up the water bottle and throw it at me? Which would just be kind of funny. And it would throw Leo off guard to get tackled. And so that was just kind of like the perfect moment right there. And it was really funny with the boss's reaction. He kind of looks like like he's doubting, like what am I doing? Why do I have a water bottle in my hand?
My last bullet. Come out and face me.
Leo is also like a man of honor, so when Leo's like, come out and face me, he's like, let's stand off. Like I'm ready to throw down, which is what they do. This is the first time they see each other. Then you immediately cut. This is a huge moment in the final showdown. This really shows where Luna's character is falling. It starts piecing the puzzle together for the audience, like, oh, okay, this is where Luna's going, which is really sad. It's really sad. And Yaz completely killed that scene. She completely killed that scene. The thing with Yaz is when she goes into these type of scenes, she really has to make her feel like it. And so when we're shooting these scenes, she's very serious and she's all in on her character. You really have to give her space because she actually makes herself cry and she actually makes herself feel these emotions. You know, every actor has their own method, and this actress right here, man, built different. She absolutely killed it. My favorite part of this whole final showdown, when Leo takes off his jacket and the soundtrack is just so cool. Just the drop. Then Leo's like, okay, I'm ready. Be ready. Such a cool moment with the main theme trickling in.
I shot you in your arm.
You think you a hot shot now, huh?
I took out your whole fucking squad. You think you're gonna stop me?
Those henchmen, they ain't shit.
You're right. You're a little taller than I expected. Not as much hair as I would have guessed, though. I can see why you fell into sex trafficking. You can't fool your own women.
So that conversation that the boss and Leo have was actually I wouldn't say improv by me, but it kind of came off on the top of my head. So the day before we filmed this scene, we had to split this whole showdown into 3 days. We filmed this whole showdown in 3 days. It was a lot of work. On the first day we failed. We got some stuff done, but it wasn't as much as we wanted to do. You know, behind schedule, I was really struggling. I had to make everyone come back to set to do the stuff again. As we started funneling people out, and then it just kind of became Leo, the boss, and Jolene, and those other characters were kind of done. So we're preparing for this in particular, the real final showdown, just Leo and the boss. I'm just looking at the script, preparing for it, and I'm like, man, I feel like after they stand off, they should have kind of like a talk. And these lines that they say, I just came up with off the top of my head. I just wrote them down and I was like, yep, that'll work. Right, you know, Leo's like, I took out your whole squad, and then Leo's like, not as much hair as I would have guessed, so can't pull your own women. And then the boss's reaction, you know, the boss's ego again is getting in his head, which only emphasized that. So that first part of the throwdown, the cool fight scene where the boss charges him, all of these fight scenes I had to choreograph on the spot. So this wasn't something that I knew exactly what we were going to do, exactly what punch we were going to throw. Well, I had certain moves and stuff on the script, but when you get on set, most of the time it completely changed just because the location, you adapt to everything. When we're there, I take about half an hour and I just read through the script, and then I kind of walk through it with Anthony. I'm like, okay, let's do this. After I say that, you charge me, I throw you pass. One in the gut, one in the jaw. I miss a couple times. I didn't want every punch to land. This fight was choreographed right before we shot it, and we kind of ran through it like 10 times over and over, just like, okay, let's walk it through. Okay, let's do it 25%, 50, 75, all the way to 100. And then once you turn on the cameras, we're going 150. And if you watch the behind the scenes, I didn't realize how fast I was throwing my punches. I was really throwing my punches. I was really swinging like all the way through. And so was he. I took some real punches from Anthony. Like, man, when he would punch my shoulders, the man's jacked. Like, my shoulders were sore the next day. He was actually hitting me sometimes. Luckily, I didn't actually hit him. Probably should have got him back one time. Maybe on the next one.
Screw you, Leo. You ain't nothing but a fucking fool.
They stand off again, and I really wanted to show that Leo has been fighting for his life all day, and he's absolutely tired. The boss still got some energy, but Leo is dead, man. He's been fighting from the morning, and now it's night. It's the middle of the night, which is why the boss easily overpowers him. But Leo hits him with that clean chew piece. So I really wanted to show, Leo's dead tired. He's been fighting all day, and I really wanted to show that. That's why I didn't lengthen the fight scene. It didn't turn into some Bruce Lee action scene. It's kind of like short and sweet. It still has its cool moments, but that realness was always there, which is when the boss kicks Leo in the leg, his weak spot. Always looking for that upper hand, like I said. The biggest thing in the film. So when I was editing the scene and then the boss is choking out Leo, Jolene wakes up and then she realizes it and she kills the boss. Yeah. But as I'm editing the scene, it felt like it was missing something, and like it was building up and then it just immediately drops. And so I kind of like paired together music. This song I throw in during Jolene's dream wasn't in the original final Showdown score. I pulled it from the end credits and I've worked it in here, some sound design, which I've kind of gotten decent at as I've been editing the film. But this dream scene was actually supposed to happen earlier in the film. It was supposed to happen when Jolene wakes up after she passes out from her panic attack. That dream felt like it happened too early. It felt like we as an audience didn't earn that moment. When you have emotional moments like this, the audience needs to feel like it's earned. They need to feel it. And when Jolene woke up from that dream, it just felt a little too soon, and it didn't really fit the tone in that moment. And I was like, why don't I try throwing it in the final showdown? The pinnacle of the moment when Leo and Jolene are fighting for their lives, trying to defeat the boss, like a literal boss battle. And I threw it in here, and I threw this music under it, and it just worked perfectly. It felt like the scene finally earned its place in the movie, because originally I cut this dream out entirely. I was like, nah, I'm gonna just cut Jolene's dream out. It didn't really come out how I wanted it, and it doesn't really fit in the movie. But when I threw it in the final showdown, it just works. It brings such an emotional moment together. And what's so emotional about it is, even though Jolene's been through all this stuff, the one thing she dreams about is just being with Leo in the car, like the beginning of the movie. That's what she dreams about, just being with Leo. And even though she says Leo's annoying, he talks all the time, her dream is Leo just talking, which I think is super emotional, and I think it's pretty powerful, especially because they're always connected through Native culture, especially with the music. And then Jolene has this realization in her dream where she's finally changed. I think it's a great idea. We gotta let people know we're still here if we want anything to change, right? That's what Leo said in the beginning of the film, and Jolene didn't agree with him, and now she does. Now she realized what it means to be Native. She finally gains power from her culture, which is super powerful. That's her whole character arc, her trying to find her place in this world as an indigenous person. And then this montage I throw in is just beautiful.
Jolene, wake up. Come on, Jolene, wake up.
Before I get to this part, I forgot to mention one thing. When she says, I've been looking in the mirror lately, the reason she says that is because Luna, the whole time, has been like a clone character of Jolene. Luna's been like a mirror of her. So when Jolene starts in the film and she's like, nothing about natives gonna change, like, stop trying to act all like an activist, just accept our place in this world. And when she comes across Luna, that's exactly how Luna acts, but with women. Luna's like, why are you still fighting? You know, what's a screwdriver going to do against a gun? Like what's the point? And Jolene realizes by looking at herself in the mirror with Luna, she realizes like, dang, I'm a hypocrite. I'm doing the exact same thing Luna's doing, but I'm just doing it with my culture, and that won't work. And that's why Luna is such an important character to Jolene, because it helps Jolene realize her strength and her power as an indigenous woman, which is super powerful for both characters. As Jolene wakes up, you know, I didn't want Leo to kill the boss. I was like, I want Jolene to kill the boss to show that she's powerful, that she can hold her own. Jolene's the one that saved the day, not Leo. And she completely brutally murders him with good reason too. You know, the stuff that the boss did to her throughout the day was traumatizing for life. Then we have this moment of just being together and Leo trying to console her with the music. It's just really beautiful. Especially the lighting, the camera movement. So the reason I wanted that shot like that for the camera to move around them is because I wanted to mimic like a world rotating, like the earth rotating, where, you know, Leo and Jolene, the only two people they need in this world are each other. Even though they have other people that they love now, like Luna, she cares for the girls now. But at the end of the day, it's Leo and Jolene together, and that's why when they come together, it's almost like a full circle moment, even though, you know, by the end of the film, it doesn't really work out in such a good way. Now this shot is so beautiful, just Leo looking back on what just happened. But he doesn't have time to throw up, you know, he doesn't have time to think about it now. And obviously end off on that powerful just closing shot with the boss dead in the bloody plank. That is the final showdown. I hope you guys enjoyed that insight into the scene, you know, which is one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. It just came together so well. It was a lot of hours put into it. We were probably out there until like 3 a.m. each night, just filming, trying to get it done, and which means we don't get home till about 4:30 a.m. Don't go to sleep till 5 a.m. And so, you know, you really had to be dedicated to get that scene done. But it was so important just because that's such a huge scene in the film, and everyone did a good job. We all got it done, and it was a lot of fun, a lot of hard work. But man, what an enjoyable experience. It was a lot of fun to look back on this scene. Go check out the movie. And this is APART-ATHON, and I just broke down the final showdown from Torn Apart.